show was produced by Business RadioX, and I am Mark Galvin, your host. We are coming to you live from the Subaru of Gwinnett studio inside the Sonesta Gwinnett Place Atlanta Hotel. We are so glad you are with us today. This is one of those experiments for those of you that have listened to the show often enough. You know, every once in a while, our producer takes vacation time, and we love giving our folks vacation. And so I'm running the graphics on the screen. Thank goodness we have the Business RadioX guys here running all of the video cameras because I wouldn't be able to do that also. This is an interesting time. We are, let's see, a couple days ago, I think it was yesterday, the Fed raised the interest rate 0.75%, which means they're trying to slow down the economy, which means we as small business people have to be nimble. So we are glad you are here today. Our goal here on How's Your E-Presence is to help you do something to grow your business. So thank you for being here with us. Just so you know, we put all of our shows on YouTube. We create a YouTube channel. You can go there, search for any of the topics that you're interested in, like SEO. Want to learn about SEO a little bit more? That's right in our YouTube channel. So go check that out. Wherever you are, please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button there on the bottom of the screen. We would love to let you know when we are live, and by subscribing, you'll get that information. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to get into public relations and marketing. And you know what? We may actually do public relations and social media. So you've got to stick around. We've got a great guest today to talk about all those wonderful topics. Now, just as a reminder, we want you to submit your questions. So if you have a question, throw it right on the screen. I got my computer in front of me. I will serve your questions right up to our guest. So who do we have here today? We've got Nancy Tao with Tao Communications. Nancy, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
I am so glad you're here. You and I know each other from a couple of minutes ago, right?
Exactly.
That's
well, yes.
true. We met each other at Mad Italian.
We did.
One of my favorite spots for lunch. And it was raining, I think, that day, wasn't it?
It was. You're right.
And we had a great lunch.
I didn't bring my umbrella, which is typical, but yeah.
I think that was during COVID.
Was it?
Is that why we were outside?
I think so. Yes, we did meet outside.
Yeah.
So we've met there again. We met there again.
We have.
Yeah, right.
Well, Mad Italian, we just gave them a plug. We should charge them for that.
But we met through a mutual connection.
We did.
Through a networking group or something like that,
That is absolutely right. Don Martin connected us.
Right.
And
how is Dawn?
I have not talked to Dawn in ages.
I really liked her.
Yeah. So shout out to Dawn. Yes. # Dawn Martin. We hope you're doing well. So you're in PR.
Yes.
And I'm going to do a little highlight here of who you are and what you do. You are a PR professional. I love that. Public relations professional fueled by creativity, intention, and natural ability. And sometimes that natural ability may be in Chinese. We'll get to that. She communicates persuasively through a craft of a good story, and you have some mad word skills.
I try.
I love that. I didn't know this, that you spent 14 years with Accenture. That is really cool.
Yes.
I could talk about Accenture all day long.
Love them.
Yeah. Were you with them when they went through their name change?
I wasn't.
Oh, so it was after the name change.
Yes.
You've worked with Whole Foods, Octagon, which you were VP of Marketing in China. That's my reference to speaking Chinese. You did some work with the Atlanta Committee for the Olympic Games, and Fleischman Hillard. Who are they?
So they are a PR agency. That's where I started my career. And actually, they taught a course at my university.
Okay,
and that's how I really sort of fell in love with the notion of going into communications or public relations. So,
that's very cool.
Yes.
All right. What college did you go to? What university?
I went to University of Missouri.
Missouri?
Yes, I'm a Midwestern girl.
Wow,
yeah.
fantastic.
Absolutely. Go Cards. Cardinals. St. Louis Cardinals.
Wait a minute. University of Missouri, aren't they the Tigers?
They are.
Okay.
But I'm saying Missouri.
But you're
St. Louis. Sorry, I'm going. Not making any sense already, but yes.
It's all good.
Yes.
I love that. And we like beating them. I mean, I think the Cardinals are a great team. You know, the Braves are doing really well right now.
I know.
Are you a Braves fan?
Okay. So the only time I go to the Braves game are when the Cardinals are in town.
That's what it ought to be.
There's more Cardinal fans in the stadium than there are Braves fans, for the record.
And that's kind of so this week, my son lives in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
and the Braves were in D.C. this week, and he said there were more Braves fans at.
Oh, really?
At that
the
game.
Nationals? Is it the Nationals?
Yeah, the Nationals aren't really good now, so I think it has something to do with it. Well, anyway, we're not here to talk about sports. We love sports. That's fun. I always love to start off with asking why people do what they do, and you're passionate about your work. So kind of describe your PR space and why are you passionate about that?
So, that's interesting, and I've been doing this for a long time. So I think, to be honest with you, it's really become sort of this love-hate thing. I do it because it's kind of the only thing I know how to do. But so people always talk about, you should be passionate about what you do in life and your work, and you should love what you do. So, again, I think it's love-hate. I absolutely like what I do.
Good.
Absolutely. I think I'm good at what I do, and usually you become good at something that you like, right? Or vice versa.
Absolutely. Right.
But I will tell you what I am passionate about and what I do love are my clients and their work.
Good. And you get connected to your clients you develop a really strong relationship with them. And I know one of your clients,
yes.
and I've seen you work in person, so you get very engaged, and it becomes a little bit more of a personal passion for you.
Oh, absolutely. So, yeah.
Do you think that's a key to being really good at PR?
Yes, it is. Absolutely. I mean, you have to know your client inside out. You have to know, what they do in their organization, the brand that they represent inside out. And I really, truly believe, as a PR, I'm a solo practitioner, so right. It's really important to me that I believe in not only the leadership behind the brand, but also the brand or the product or the service. So,
it is easy to describe your brand, a brand, when you own it, when you're there all the time. How do you get to know a brand well when you are not sitting in that office or in that building or in that or going to all the meetings they go to and all that? How do you do that?
Yeah, so it takes time, but you ask a lot of questions, and when you're in PR, I mean you are basically a spokesperson for that organization or for that brand. So at any given time, I have to be able to speak on their behalf. I also help them speak on their own behalf. So
right.
I really, in many ways, I put words on their piece of paper and perhaps words in their mouths so that they can message their brand effectively and accurately and in an interesting way, right? So I think we one of the questions was, what is it that you do? So, I'm really a personal storyteller. We all have a story. I think that's what I have on my website is,
right.
Everyone has a story. I'm here to help you tell it. So we all have a story. Some people have a knack at telling really long stories. So my job is to help make those stories much more concise.
Oh, that's interesting.
And much more interesting so that people listen and they don't turn off this podcast.
Right. So, and you really can't do that. You really can't tell that story unless you get to know your clients really well.
Absolutely.
I'm going to say, I think some of that's personality. You've got to have a personality that I want you around. Yeah. I've got to want to spend time with you. And so in the PR space, is it important that you build a relationship with your client in a way that you become almost like an extension of them, like family, if you will? Maybe family's too much, but is that an important part of being successful?
Yeah, definitely. And I think in any business you have, or when you are an entrepreneur or a business owner, developing that trust with your clients and that credibility, which again, that's what really PR is all about.
Right.
So that's why a lot of my clients come to me, because they're looking for credibility, authenticity in those stories that they tell. And we were going to talk about what is PR, and if you want to, that's a really open-ended question. PR is different for different organizations. It means it plays a different part. It plays a different role in your business depending on what your business is, your industry, obviously what your marketing PR objectives are. But for the most part, PR really helps with that credibility.
It does.
Factor.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Absolutely. All right, so PR is really, and you and I were talking about this earlier, it's part of marketing.
Right.
It's an extension of the marketing team. It's one of the spokes to marketing, and I think it's important to see that. But you're not marketing, right? You're not doing ad placement. You're not buying ads or pay-per-click. Your effort is something totally different. I'd love for you to kind of distinguish the difference between PR and traditional marketing.
Sure. So the best way to explain it is PR really is earned media, if you will, versus, let's say, advertising. So advertising you pay for.
Right.
So the great thing about advertising is that it's a sure thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's guaranteed. You paid for that space. You paid for that billboard. You paid for that TV commercial. But we don't all have budgets. It's, because there's a price tag to that. So
Yeah.
to that guarantee, that sure thing.
Mm-hmm.
We don't all have those budgets. I happen to, and I know a lot of the listeners and watchers are small business owners. A lot of small business owners, including myself, we don't have huge budgets. When I say, one of the first questions, of course, a lot of business owners ask their potential clients is, "What do you have a budget? What's your budget?"
Absolutely.
My clients never have budgets, right? But that's okay. I still love them. They never have a budget.
But wait a minute.
Yeah.
I mean, you say they don't have a budget, but they are certainly savvy enough to know they're putting money into hiring you to help them grow that credibility side of their marketing mix.
Absolutely.
So they just haven't put that budget number in the circle yet, right?
Right. So that's the difference, is that advertising you pay for, it's guaranteed. In PR, you earn it. So it's my job and other PR professionals, it's our job to figure out how to convince editors, publishers, reporters that the story that our clients have is relevant.
Right.
It's newsworthy.
And me opening up my donut shop doesn't always mean that's newsworthy. And it's newsworthy to me because my donut shop took a lot of work, right?
Right.
But it takes a little more than who cares?
So if I were your PR person right now,
yes,
and you wanted me to get you on TV tomorrow.
Over my donuts.
Oh, on your donuts, because you have this
donuts.
and they're really good donuts.
Yeah.
And never mind that there's a lot of other donut shops in town, but that's okay.
Let's not talk me out of my donut love.
So to make that maybe more relevant or more newsworthy, I would say, how about putting a scoop of ice cream on top of your donut?
Oh.
Because why? Because it's really hot outside.
I like that.
So what's a nice cool treat on a day that feels like it's 107 degrees?
I bet there are a lot of journalists trying to find a story on it's hot out, right? You just don't want to say it's hot. So if I can find ways, hey, here's a way you can cool off. I like that.
I was talking to my PR friend yesterday, in fact, when this heat wave, I guess, started. Did it start yesterday? It feels like it's been hot every day.
That does feel like it.
I think we peaked yesterday. So we were just fantasizing about these ideal PR clients that we wish we had right now, like an air conditioning company.
Right.
A water park. An ice cream shop.
Right. So I know
easy pitches to media.
I know an AC company, by the way. Yeah, we have to talk about that.
Yes, we should.
Well, I think this is really interesting because PR is extremely valuable, and it's one of the reasons I have a lot of people reach out to us to be a guest on our show, just because it's part of that marketing mix. And when frankly, I think when you're in that PR space, there's multiple legs to PR, right? So there's podcasting, there are news gathering organizations, there's even business publications that will publish, hey, this business just opened up. So there are kind of all those things out there. But the challenge is how do you develop that content? What do you do when someone comes and says, okay, I need a PR person? How do you tease that apart? And maybe you have an example?
Yep. So what I do initially, again, are ask a lot of questions.
Okay.
So people usually come to me and say, well, I need a PR person, or somebody will refer me a piece of business. They need a PR person. So my first question is always, what are you doing currently? What marketing initiatives have you done?
Wait a minute. So you're going to ask, okay, where are you on the marketing?
Right.
So are you doing
done
social?
Any PR? Have you written a press release, for example? Do you have any articles? Have you been featured in any media?
Interesting.
Right. Have you bought any advertising? That type of thing. What tools do you have to support if there's a sales team? So trying to just get at what they're already currently doing, and that helps to start the conversation about what is PR for your organization specifically to complement your and support your marketing sales objectives, and then having a conversation about how PR can help you. And maybe PR can't help you right now, but maybe PR can help you further down your marketing spectrum journey. The one good thing I will say, and I represent a lot of small business owners,
Right.
a lot of women-owned businesses. That's
Good.
kind of my niche. Although I don't discriminate. PR is actually, I do have some clients who've done pretty much zero. Like they haven't done anything. Like they've launched a Facebook page.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
They do a little bit
Yeah.
of social media.
Okay.
They may not even have a website, but they have successful businesses. Meaning
Right.
they're making money. There's money in the bank, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
But PR is one of the things in your marketing mix that if you haven't done anything yet, it's a really good place to start.
Okay, I think this is a good point. And I was going to ask you, do you find that most of your clients are, they've checked all the other boxes and PR's last, or is PR the first box they're checking? You are saying that this is probably a good place to start.
If you've really done nothing or very little, it's a great place to start.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
All right. So you focus on small women businesses, it sounds like, is your niche.
It's my niche, yes.
And when you start working with these small women businesses, women-owned businesses, probably the right way to say that, where do you typically find is the best place for them to start? So for those women-owned businesses in the group, what are those kind of like? Here's one of the areas that they should look at first, if you will.
In terms of like a tactic?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get granular.
So
That'd
we'll
be good.
get granular. So something that I do that I stole from some famous marketing person out there, I forgot his name at the moment, is called an onlyness statement. So we go through this, and it's a branding.
You said
onlyness.
like O-N-L-Y.
Right.
Onlyness. Okay.
Yep. Rhymes with loneliness. Onlyness. Yes. So really what it comes down to get granular with my client and their brand is to understand what makes you the only. Right?
Huh.
Because again, you're a donut shop, but you're not the only donut shop.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, but I'm the only donut shop that puts ice cream on my donuts.
Absolutely. So that's really one of the very first things that I love to start with my clients. And it's tangible. It's a tactic. So they understand it. It's not this esoteric marketing PR strategy that I don't even understand. Right.
Right.
And again, I'm talking to small business owners.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a great place to start, and it's a really good foundation. It's an internal statement. So it's really like it's basically the who, what, when, why, and where of who you are.
All the W's, sure.
All the W's, but what is more specifically, uniquely, all those W's?
And
what can you own out of, all the other donut shops that the other donut shops don't have?
So not everybody can do that. That's not easy. So you're going to help them with that. And I think it's hugely valuable. I think it's really interesting in marketing. One of the things that you have to do is go upstream as far as you can to figure out what the motivation is at why somebody would buy a donut, right? Well, I buy donuts because I like to go to the donut store with my wife, and we sit and have coffee and we have a conversation, and it's really about bonding with my wife, right? So there's my motivation. We have to figure those things out as owners. And you're going to help figure those things out. What is it that you are the only, like you have a cute little table over here that people can sit down and have donuts and
they might
connect.
be the only donut shop in that specific neighborhood, or the only donut shop near a university, or so there's a lot of onlys out there that are not so in your face.
Right.
And that's what PR people do. We help you spin everything.
I love that.
So,
so for the record, you're doing such a great job because I have screwed up so many things over here on my side of the table. I didn't hit the live button faster enough. Yeah, this is good. And I've got a note from Mike. Thank God Mike's here. We've got a few folks that I want to say hello here. So I'm going to read this to you on the screen. Amanda Walker is watching, and she's shared. And she is an artist, by the way. I do know Amanda. People are craving authenticity.
Absolutely.
So it's important I think that's a really important thing to remember to highlight. And Deborah Schwartz-Griffin says, "Go Nancy."
Oh, hi, Deborah.
So go Nancy. That's a great way that's a good supporter right there. So one of the things I think would be interesting, and you and I, again, we talked about this earlier, there are three things that are really important to you in the PR side. And you said this is something you like to do. What are those three things that you are the most important to your organization? So what are your three most important points for your service?
So yeah, I don't know if they're the most important. So the three things that I like to cover in this sort of conversation style, let's just say my first meeting with a potential client and even a client.
Sure.
Is again that question, what are you doing in your marketing mix? Because marketing is more general and it's an umbrella that PR somehow finds a space in.
Right.
But people tend to understand marketing more than they do PR. So I ask them that question, what are you doing currently? And then try to emphasize that PR is definitely an important part of that mix if you're not doing it already. And then number two is once we start having that PR conversation, I start to explain why PR is important.
Right.
And it's definitely about that authenticity and that credibility. It really helps with that because it's earned. We've earned that content that you have out there that gets published eventually, that gets promoted on this podcast, that's on the front page of the paper, that's on a radio program or a TV show. That's earned content. So we've worked really hard together to get that story out there. We didn't pay for it. It's not a guarantee.
So it's because of things that the business has done that gets them the opportunity to get that credible content. You shared a story with me earlier today about a salon,
a beauty school.
And I'd love for you to share that with our audience because I think that that's a really good example of the type of work you do.
So this is a really recent project, and I'm going to name it. It's the Elaine Sterling Institute, which is this amazing beauty school that's grown over the years. And I was called in to help them produce an open house.
Okay.
So they opened up a salon space. What's unique, and we did an onlyness statement, so one of their unique characteristics is that they are not only a 39,000 square foot campus that teaches a very comprehensive curriculum within the beauty industry. So hair, makeup, massage.
So this is not a small spot.
This is not a small.
Okay.
But they started very small.
Yep.
So I was asked to help them with the open house with this new space. So they opened up a 12,000 square foot salon space. But what I was getting at, what's unique about the school, not only are they this amazing school, but they also operate a full service spa and salon.
Oh, so that on the premises. So
Right.
so it's a
that-
working
Right.
learning center, so to speak.
The why is so that their students get real hands-on experience.
That's cool.
Right. So I was asked to do the open house, so that's event planning, and I have an event planning background, and also to do the PR specifically about the opening of the new space.
Okay.
Right. So all good.
Yeah. Sounds exciting.
good,
I mean,
right.
great. How is that newsworthy?
Right, exactly. So,
Yeah.
I don't really say that to my client right up front. That's not a good conversation starter. But she knows she's been around and she gets it. And her story she has an amazing story. Her story has been told. It's been in the media. She's been in the AJC. She's been in all the magazines. So as we started further down the path of planning her event, I asked her purposely, because I was really looking for some more meat on those bones so that I could continue to tell her story. So kind of the next chapter of her story, because it's already been told. And again, the opening of this new salon, it is beautiful. It took a year. It took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Through COVID, all of that stuff happened, right? But that's kind of an old story. People have told that story so many times now.
I mean, honestly, here's the thing, and this is where you're challenged, is the owner knows my story is interesting, but it may not be interesting to the world at large, but it is still interesting.
Right, it is very interesting. So so during the planning process, I asked her if she had a sort of a charity of choice or a cause that she'd like to support.
Okay.
And she didn't necessarily, although she is very altruistic, she's very involved in her community, but she didn't really have one singular one. And I said, well, as her PR person,
wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I said, well, it might be something you want to start to think about it, and even long term. Now you have this beautiful campus. It's probably time, and you're 15 years into this, right? So it's probably time to do that. So she said, great, go find me one.
Love that.
So we did. And we landed on the Artsbridge Foundation.
The Artsbridge Foundation. Okay. Who are they? Because I've not heard of them.
Yes, I know. They are a nonprofit, and they fund statewide programming for kids K through 12, statewide.
Wow.
To enrich their experiences and programming in performing arts.
Oh, wow.
So it's all about the performing arts. So they bring performing arts theater to the schools and bring the students on field trips to theaters.
Interesting.
Statewide.
Wow.
So that's what we picked. And one of the reasons...
So hold on.
Yeah.
Why?
What does that have to do with the beauty school?
No, this is good. Why? How did you go from, okay, we got to find someone, and you landed there?
I know.
There's something that teased that out. What was it?
It took a long time because I will tell you, Elaine said, go find me one. I think the next week we brought her a list, and she's like, none of them really. I mean, they're all good. They're all worthy.
Yeah.
There was nothing wrong with them, but it just wasn't. And I agreed with her. I just said, yeah, I know. I just thought I'd just share them and see what your response was.
Sometimes that's important, though, right? You got to put options in front of these owners because they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
You know, they have something in mind, but they only know that doesn't work. Go find something that does.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So speaking of trust and those conversations you have with your clients and sort of that bonding period. So her school is on the ground level of Lenox Square in Buckhead. Okay. So one day we were leaving our meeting and we literally walked through the parking deck at Lenox Square, and she was telling me a little bit about her life. We were going to go check out some roadside signage to make sure people knew where the school was, because Lenox Square is large.
A little busy.
It's a little busy.
Yeah, a lot of things there.
So during that walk and that conversation, she mentioned to me that she studied theater.
Oh.
Which I never knew, because one of the things that's in her onlyness statement is that she is a student of she's a beauty school graduate herself. Okay. She's from South Africa. Okay. But in addition to studying cosmetology, she also studied theater.
Wow.
And that's where I made the connection. And I just happened to know about Artsbridge, and I thought, this is it.
Great.
This might be it.
So you reach out to them. She likes it. What did you do?
Fast forward. Yeah. So we made the connection. She agreed to it. We made it a part of the announcement of the opening. Okay. So Artsbridge representatives were there.
Oh, nice.
For the ribbon cutting. But of course, since it's a beauty school, we don't just do ribbon cuttings. We do hair cuttings. Right. So we did a theatrical hair cutting performance.
Oh, cool.
As an ode to Elaine.
Yes.
And her theater and her students. So the other thing Elaine has told me is that what they really do every day at that school is theater. She also said that to me.
Oh, okay.
So it all really just worked out. So it added to the story. We definitely got the media's interest with this partnership.
So did you find that was there like an A/B testing? Okay, we want to talk about this new opening, and all the media was like, yawn, and then you came back with this story, and they said, we want that.
So yes.
Wow.
Yes and no. So we got through the opening, which was June 4th. We did not, for example, she didn't come to me specifically and say, I want a story in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, but she absolutely deserves a story in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Sure. And they've written about her in the school before, but so, and I got literally a thank you, but no thank you. And went through. I send it to the education, and there's nothing. I love the AJC.
Yeah,
I get it delivered on my front door every day. But just no, from education reporters to feature reporters to
just wasn't flying. Right. Yeah.
So because of this partnership, we decided to create another media event after the opening, because again, the opening really isn't front page news. So we, luckily, there are 2 state finalists this is something Artsbridge does. Every year they have a competition, and they name a leading actress and a leading actor in a High School Musical performance. Okay. So they just named them. Coincidentally, and we did get lucky on this, the timing, they're leaving for New York next week.
Wow.
For a national. So they are the state finalists representing Georgia.
Cool.
Going to perform on a Broadway theater in New York City next week. So they stopped by the school this week, and we did a whole Students Helping Students. So the students of Elaine Sterling helped these students who are about to be on the national stage, right? To get them show ready.
Wow.
So we did a whole story, and there's an article in the AJC today.
It's there. Oh, that is awesome.
So we made it happen.
That is real cool. And we are out of time. So I love that story. We got that. We were able to squeeze it in. Yes, this is good. Where can people find more information about you?
So I do have a website. It's taocomms.com.
TAOCOMMS.com. So those for you on the podcast, you can find that. If you're watching the video, it's right there on the screen. Nancy, thanks for being here with us today.
You're so welcome, Mark.
I so appreciate you.
Fun.
So, folks, we've got to wrap up the show because we're way over time here. Thanks for joining us here on How's Your ePresence. This show is produced by ePresence, which we are a social media company, and you can find our address at epresence.me. That's epresence.me because it's all about you, and we manage personal, company, social media. We also offer consulting and training, and by being a listener, a viewer of our show here, you can go right there to the link on the screen, e-pr.me/listener, and you can take advantage of a 5% discount on all of our services. How's Your ePresence is everywhere. We broadcast live each month here at Business RadioX on the third Thursday at 3, and you can listen to any of our shows 24/7 by going to businessradiox.com and selecting the Gwinnett Studio. You can also find us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. Wherever you go on those spaces, please hit subscribe so you know when we go live. That's that. Okay, good. Our in-house producer is Mackenzie Munzer. She's on vacation. We miss her, as you can see from the show today. Our Business RadioX podcast crew is Mike Salmon and his protege, Connor Salmon, and newly inducted into the group, Jacob Woods. Thank you, gentlemen, for all of your help. Until next time, for my guest, Nancy Tao. I'm Mark Galvin, and this has been How's Your ePresence?